Assalamu alaikum, Ejaz.
Wa alaikum assalam. Tufayl, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. All good. So today we're talking about the irony of things, the global situation, lots of things that we notice and we're like, wait, what? You know?
Yeah, and I think to start this discussion, Ejaz, I was reading an article about how in the past, I think 10, 13 years or so, there's a lot of anti-immigration protests happening in the UK. It's just a bit strange that the colonial empire of the UK and old Britain and whatever else used to encompass it is just not happy with people showing up in their land.
That's the height of dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what they did for all of history.
Yeah. India, lots of parts of Africa, a lot of places.
Probably 3/4 of the globe.
Parts of the Middle East.
That they just rocked up to and, okay, this is ours now.
Yeah, we are here.
And deal with it.
Yeah. It's almost like, certain, like, those old vacuum salesmen or so not happy with someone knocking on the door trying to sell them something. What on earth? How does that work?
And now, the chickens have come home to roost. Is that the same?
I think so. I don't know. It's just strange that after, decades and maybe centuries of going around pillaging.
What comes around goes around. This is like like the personification of that saying.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now we're not happy with it. But when you're going around just inserting people all over and moving people around also, that was a weird thing. Like, okay, we're going to take them from here and we need them there. And we've just messed up a lot of the world. And now we're just going to not like it when other people do it.
Yeah. And the irony of the situation currently is with the UK protests that, have taken up all of the headlines globally, is that it started off on not a false pretense, but they said that some Muslim person had attacked someone else, and that's why now they're attacking businesses and mosques and all of these things. When you go back to the actual starting of the whole thing, it was not even a Muslim person that did it, but it looked like it was just an excuse, and of course with the help of mainstream media, to get the snowball effect kind of thing. And what we're seeing now playing out is horrific in terms of, what's happening to most people of, what would we say?
Non-Caucasian descent.
Non-Caucasian descent. That sounds about right, innit? But, and we're seeing now that people are actually, fighting back or defending their shops. And someone pointed out that none of the hooligans attacked any bookstores. So that would tell you a bit more about the hooligans that have attacked a lot of what they have attacked.
Should read into that.
Write a book.
It's ironic, man. Like, there's this whole shift in so many things in the world. The other ironic feat of history is that there's such a struggle, and it's August, it's Women's Month last here in South Africa, and we celebrate 20,000 odd women. Was it in 56 or was it 68? I can't. Why is the year? It's 68 years later, so 1956 sounds about right.
Okay.
Maybe. Either way, it's many years later, and there was this, struggle for liberation. It was a cause, and women needed rights. Women need to be, equalized sort of in society in certain regards and in certain aspects. And there's such a struggle for all of those rights, and now it's being, again, just diluted, where men can identify as having the same rights as women. I don't know.
But guys are looking to have rights in Women's Month. Is that what you're saying? Like, what about our rights kind of thing?
No.
Oh, thank God.
I mean,
Okay.
women fought for their own rights, and then now just guys can identify as women and share those rights.
I get you.
I mean, we're seeing it happening in the sporting world. We're seeing it happen in, I mean, a lot of places. It's ironic how people have, fought for now, like creating spaces and avenues for women to do things, and only for it to be infiltrated again by men existing in those spaces again under the pretense or the, I don't know how to phrase it anymore. I think that is a topic on its own for another day. I just found it rather ironic.
I get you.
Quite ironic.
And then, obviously, in some instances, people fall victim to this. For example, the Moroccan boxer. She was under so much scrutiny, and people had already formulated their opinions just based on posts they had seen, not knowing the full history. And I feel sorry for her that she had to actually pull out like baby photos to show and prove that she was a girl.
Raised as, you know,
and it's just weird that because, I don't know how else to put it, but because a white lady had suffered defeat, and now this whole thing had to come into play. And ironically now, on our topic of irony, she has come out, the Italian boxer, to say she apologizes, and if she meets her, she will, she would greet her properly and all of that. But the damage has already been done. There's so much that Iman, I think her name was,
yes,
had to go through during that time.
Yeah.
So, and it's sort of every fight going forward, whoever her opponent is, would basically just, when the minute they see they're catching and hiding or they're about to lose, then they're just gonna, walk off in protest, kind of thing. So the weird thing is that she lost 7 fights that no one spoke about, but now because of
the one that she won,
the one in Olympics that decided to give up her fight, now it puts her whole career in jeopardy.
Yeah, I think the irony in that is, I mean, we come from an age where there was no access to information, and it'll always be
Algerian, not Moroccan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Iman Khalif,
that's the name.
One of the most ironic things, and I think it just touches on this a little bit, is that we come from an era where there's a limited access to information, and people were always concerned about information must be, factual. It mustn't be propagandist, considering that there were so many propaganda machines. One of them just ending around the 1930s. We became so obsessed at some point in history with information being, verified and researched properly and all of those things. And then in the past few years, we've just thrown caution to the wind on that. We're like, nah, that doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to see something and I'm going to share my opinion, even if it's not rooted in any form of fact. Mind you, your opinions are fine. But I mean, to now create a narrative based on nothing more than a whim and a couple of pushes at your keyboard.
I've seen so many, not rebuttals would be the right term, or apologies coming through, from people who had felt they needed to let their opinion come out without all of the facts, and then had to do a, circle back kind of thing.
Yeah. It's weird how we've just gone from being obsessed with, literature and things being researched and verified and whatever else, and just all of a sudden, no, that don't matter anymore. I'm going to say something and whatever happens kind of thing. There's also a lot of irony. I think modern technology has made that it's so easy to just put your thought out there without thinking twice or doing a quick search or whatever. The other irony of technology is that there are movies and books about why we should not let self-thinking robots do things for us.
I was waiting for you to bring this topic up. I was so waiting for this topic to film.
I mean, we know Will Smith fought hard.
Before him, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, exactly. There's a series of Terminators that tell us.
They're like, imagine how scary it would be if robots took over okay, let's empower them. Let's see what happens. That's where we are now, you know. So I know AI is a wonderful tool. Can help you.
Yeah.
It can help you do a lot of things better. You know, there are lots of pluses to it. But then there's always that fear, like, you know, there was a robot that they allowed to increase its knowledge to a certain extent, that figured out how to get itself out of a certain place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, then they realized, whoa, like, you know, what have we done here?
As ironic as I find it, Ejaz, I'm gonna be, I don't know, think of it what you will. But I'm on the side of the machines in some way. I think I'm tired of people, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe you want to, I know Tufayl.
No, then I'm not a robot.
Did you tick off I am human at the beginning of the show?
The capture is just amazing. Security.
All of the windows. Did you click on the pictures of all the windows?
I cannot confirm or deny.
That's the irony on the topic as well. A robot is asking us humans to confirm that we are human. Like, like why?
I'm on the side of the machines on this, and I think technology is a wonderful tool. I think we just gotta
embrace it.
Yeah, there's a lot. It streamlines a lot. It assists a lot. It creates, you know, access to different sort of. Think of it this way, right? Say you're running a business and you can employ a lot of people. Perhaps you're just starting up, and you've now got to pay someone for marketing. You've got to pay someone to do your books. You've got to pay someone for ABC. You know, so many different facets. And these tools have made it easier for someone who cannot afford in that position to expand that kind of resources and human resources, where you pay, you know, a fraction of the price, and you have things that are, you know, somewhat automated for you in some way. I think in situations like that where someone couldn't take a leap before, now has some sort of assistance to do that. You don't, have to expand into the HR network that much on the onset. And when you grow to a sustainable point, you can then, have people do that for you. I think it's created, a wondrous avenue in that part to sleep with one eye open when it comes to the other types of machines. Sleep with I see what you did there. Don't sleep with AI open. They will hear your thoughts.
But now the one fear I have with AI, right, is that I think it's going to bring about laziness in us humans. Because whereas you would usually use your intellect, your brain to figure out things, to for example, you need to write an article. Right now you'll do your research, you'll do this, and you'll formulate this article and put it out there. Now you just got to ask ChatGPT to just write me an article on the South African mindset, for example. And then poof, the whole thing is done. So now that ability to come up with things on your own is going to be dumbed somewhat. That's what I feel. What do you say?
I don't know so much about that because, even with AI, there's a lot of prompting involved. In terms of, say, if you look at writing as one example, there's a lot of prompting in terms of the diction that you want to be used, in terms of the style, in terms of the references that you create. So you're still putting a lot of time and effort into now the prompts that you're giving this tool to then give you the final product of. And then after that, there's a bit of adjustment here and there to naturalize it or take it in the exact direction that you want it into. So I feel like there still is involvement. I feel like it is a tool, like other tools that you would have used. You'd have researched articles and then got the excerpts and then, use that as your citations and whatever else. There's a different method now. You've got to give it instructions in terms of how, you want things to be done, what should be points of reference and whatever else.
But is it not the fear that as you give more details to help it formulate whatever you need, that it will come to a point where, okay, I know everything now, I don't need you anymore?
I don't think so. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm an old thinker in that like a soul is a soul. No matter how, you can always just unplug the damn thing. Switch off go into airplane mode kind of thing. I think fail-safes are always there. I feel like if it's something that exists with no soul, with no flesh and blood, I think we can still have a lot of control over it, more than we think. As advanced as things can be, I feel like humans will always considerably be able to evolve out of those situations and adapt to now, take control once again.
But that's the thing with movie plots, is that we are able to come out as the saviors.
Yeah.
We formulate the plot to come out that way, but what if in real life it doesn't pan out that way?
I'm less concerned by robots taking over than I am by the kinds of people that exist out there taking over and running
Terrible.
governments. And I think that's worse for us. Because, robots would find an equitable solution to solve problems. Okay, no, Earth is getting destroyed. We'll, move into now solar and blah, 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 and the other. And they're uncorruptible. You can't go to a robot and say, $50.
Here's a cold drink.
Sort me. Exactly. But what I fear is the corruption and the negativities and the stupidity of people. I think I fear the most. So it's not the corruption and whatever. That's sort of, you can understand the dynamic behind it. A person's looking for an opportunity. They want to get a bit of extra cash or whatever it is. You understand how those things work. They're understandable. But stupidity, I can't understand. The fallacies that people live in nowadays, whether it's the identification that they have or just the run-of-the-mill, not being able to know what country exists outside of the US of A kind of thing.
Did you see the reel where they asked, what's the biggest country? And they all said, Africa.
Yeah. That I'm way more afraid of than robots taking over. If those people take over, those kinds of people take over, that I would not sleep at night.
But we've seen there was one of their representatives already, George W. Bush. He was, commander-in-chief of the globe at some stage.
Yeah. Now that would give me sleepless nights. I feel like robot overlords would have some sense. There's computing, there's logic, there's access to information and all of that behind it. I would have more faith in robot overlords than I would in certain people overlords out there.
But see, like you mentioned, no soul, no feeling. So if, for example, they felt that the earth was overpopulated, the decision they would take, just kill 3 million people and we'll be okay. That decision will be taken without any emotion or feeling. It will be taken as a logical explanation or solution. And we're really talking here in the realms of movies and stuff. So before anyone thinks we lost our rockers, it's a conversation. It's a chat between two friends.
It's something good to think about. And it's a good point that you're bringing up there. But let's face it, Ejaz, we've seen this in recent years. The leaders of the world are making very different decisions to what
if they're using AI to decide?
Hey Siri, should we bomb this place today? Kind of thing. That's the thing. World leaders. I think if you outweigh what capitalism has done and what AI has done, or what AI would do and what capitalism would do, I don't think you're going to find a big difference other than greed being eliminated by AI. It won't be influenced by greed, whereas a capitalistic leader would be influenced by that greed. Hey, listen, okay, we've got to start culling numbers now because the resources are running out. Who's going to fill my coffers the most so that they spared? Whereas AI would be we've just got to find a way to sort this, and it's not influenced by any bias based on money or based on affiliation or based on the any sort of demographic that they're more inclined towards. Whereas the problem with emotion and the problem with now these thought patterns of free thinking, free spirited, souled individuals is that, and there's a prime example in history, not very long ago also, the late 18s, the early 19s, where one guy just thought, these people don't fit here. You could have the same thing because it's a person that's now deciding, no, I feel like this should be that. Whereas AI would probably have some form of, algorithm that will pick out and sort of mix up the numbers a little bit to say, okay, should be a representative from every classification or every demographic that now gets chopped off. If we shrink each demographic by, say, 10%, for example,
what means are they going to be shrinking those populations.
Yeah, that we don't know. But I mean, men with emotions wage wars. You know, robots would probably lure you to an island and sink the ship. I don't know. I'm going to side with the robots in this, and I feel like this logic. I think is not influenced by greed and the innate natures of man and the affinities they can have.
So my other concern regards AI, Tufayl, is that, like you mentioned, they can do a lot of things at one time. And currently, the world we live in, there are people, actual people doing those jobs. So as time goes on, as AI is embraced even more, those people will be replaced. And then that would create a new problem in the world, whereas where these people do not have a means to provide for their families. And that, in essence, would create another whole problem. So that is my concern. What do you say on that?
I don't know. I don't look at it as so much of a concern. Firstly, even to use AI, like I'm saying, it requires prompts. It's not just, it doesn't magically just know what to do, and it doesn't magically just know what to do the way you need it done. So you still need a person or a team of people that will be prompting this tool or using this tool the same way you would have, say, for example, an application that designs pictures, right? You'd have a person driving that. In the same way, you have a person driving this AI tool now that can, paint these photos for you, paint these pictures for you. So there is still a human element involved in a great extent. Where it has been replacing people, I don't think it's been replacing people, but I think it's been doing the work people normally do. So if I think of startups, for example, they don't have the resources to employ anyone anyway. So they're either going to do something poorly or use AI to assist them, because it's far more affordable. They weren't going to hire an accountant, but they can use an AI tool that can help them balance their books for their tax returns or whatever it is, because there's online accounting tools that they can now use. They weren't gonna get a person to do that job from the get-go. So I don't know if it's been replacing. I don't know if it's gonna replace people. I feel like there will always be human need. And I also feel that we shouldn't be scared of the machine taking over, but look at it as an opportunity to adapt into embracing the technology, to become drivers of it. If we're drivers of that technology or averse with it, we know how to use it, or we know how to better it. So if you think of, things where artisanal work is something that can't necessarily be replaced by AI, that's just too cost inefficient to have a robot do your plumbing, for example. I think if people become more adaptable to understand that there's still things that exist where only people can do those things and move on to that. You can't be comfortable where you are and say the robots are taking over. Mm-hmm. You're the problem. The problem is not the newness that's starting to so-called replace you. The problem is that if you become complacent, complacency is going to be your killer. We've seen that there's always history. Complacency has been something.
Nokia, BlackBerry.
Exactly. If you don't move with it, you're going to be left behind. And those that have been embracing change, whatever form that change may come in, I think that's where it's at.
And that's where we leave it for today. Awesome chatting as always, Tufayl, here on the coolest show on earth. Remember to give us a follow, like, subscribe, comment as well. Let us know what you feel on the topics that we discuss. And of course, on topics you'd love us to discuss in future. So, this is where we go.
Adios.
Assalamu alaikum.